Hello, this is Over 50 Fat Blast, where we talk about menopausal fat loss. I'm Connie Rutledge, a functional nutritionist. I'm so excited to be here today because we have Kimberly from Pretty Over 50, and we're going to talk about her fat loss journey. She is a major success story, and I cannot wait to have her share and talk about her fat loss journey. Kimberly, welcome. Thank you so
Oh,
much for being on my first live.
Connie, I'm so excited to be here. And I'll tell you what, I'm so excited to share because I have so much to say.
Well, I'm so happy that you have been so successful. It just warms my heart. And I want everyone to know how you have, kind of managed this amazing transformation.
Yeah.
So give us a little snapshot of what was going on in your brain, how you arrived at the place you were when you got started. And it was about a year ago,
Yeah,
maybe.
about a year ago. That's a great question. Thank you. And I think that's so important because I see women my age in the same place I was.
Yeah.
And I see it. I was there. I understood it. It's visceral. I mean, I will never forget how that felt. So
Okay.
I was always sort of okay throughout my life. I was never super thin. I was never super heavy.
Okay.
I am a body type, and it's my whole family. All the women in my family, we have the same body. If I just leave things be and don't really exercise, I can tend to get a little, 20, 25, little fluffy.
Okay.
If I exercise, it's slow going in the beginning, but then things do respond. So during my life, I can probably say that in my adult life, the most fit that I was when I was living in Lake Tahoe and I was kayaking and hiking almost every day.
How old were you?
I was in my mid 50s,
Okay.
Connie,
So,
and I'm telling you what, and I have photo documentation. I'm not making this up. I was in a bikini in
okay.
my 50s, and
Amazing.
and it was fine. It wasn't like, "Ooh, that's kind of sad." It was like I was fine.
Were you dieting? Were you watching what you were eating? You
No,
were active.
I was active, but I do wanna say that I was lucky to have a mother who never bought sodas, who
Yeah.
never brought our food was real food, and my grandmother always had a garden, so I didn't really taste a soda or have a soda until I was 18 or 19. So there was not this concept of eating that kind of stuff. Although, I can say, I would have Doritos and guacamole dip from time to time, but it wasn't as though I had a problem with junk food. Every now and then I'd go to a fast food, but it definitely wasn't something that was regular. So I was eating probably fairly average, but I was very active and I was very fit. Then things happened. So around 57, 58, I moved out of the area. I wasn't as active. And I have learned, because I've moved around a lot, that where you live really can have a big impact on your fitness level based on what there is to do in outdoor activities, which is my preferred way of getting fit.
Okay.
So I moved, had some challenging life issues come up, and it was just a a mixture of depression, lack of focus, lack of direction, lots of things, and I ended up really out of shape, like I couldn't even really walk a mile when I
Wow.
would hike 6, 7 miles up in the mountains, just, as my second activity for the day.
Okay.
I was heavy, I was not feeling very good,
Yeah.
I wasn't I was struggling with happiness.
Yeah.
So just a lot of things, and this is right before you and I met.
Okay.
So I had moved from the West Coast out to the East Coast. I was living in Aiken.
Yes.
It wasn't that I was laying in bed depressed all day, but I can't say that I was, you know, skipping around either.
Okay.
when I was barely hanging on, and I looked in the mirror, and it was like my body was, "What the heck happened?" I had no biceps, I was just heavy. And this is what I wanna imprint on the ladies that might be watching that are feeling like they're there.
Yeah.
It was the decision was based on the fact that I knew if I didn't do something now, nothing good was gonna happen. It was just gonna get worse. And me sitting there wishing or walking, 45 minutes, 4 times a week wasn't doing anything. And it was the fear of this being me for the rest of my life that finally I've had it. I'm gonna do this. And I started in,
Yeah.
and I did a whole bunch of things wrong because and this is another thing, and I warned all of you. I have so much to say. This is gonna be like a fire hose. Unfortunately, for some reason, and I have a suspicion what the reasons are, the information that we get in the United States in particular is a bunch of lies about how to get healthy. And we have a whole lot of very wealthy industries that are working very hard so that we continue with behaviors that are going to make them a lot of money. Unfortunately, it's killing us along the way.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of things in an effort to get into better shape and to lose some weight, and none of it was working. And that's fortunately when Connie contacted me and she said, you might want to think. She was so gentle, so kind, and really started in very slowly with me. And I know, Connie, you've had to learn to be very gentle, and you are. And I reluctantly agreed to do the things that we do. And it was like, when I think about it, it was like trying to get a locomotive with 85 trains or 85 boxcars behind it moving. It was slow. Oh gosh, slow going, slow going, slow going, picks up, picks up, picks up, picks up, picks up. And now what I can say is that a year later, my life is completely different. And ladies, this is what I want to say to you. Without a doubt, there's not even a close second. This is the best decision I have made for myself in the second half of my life. Hands down, no, there's nothing even comes close. This right here was the best decision. And that's how I want to start. So what's your next I
Well,
hope that answered your question.
and I love that so much. And was it easy?
And I've thought about that, and what I can say is it wasn't easy, but it wasn't hard.
Right.
It was just kind of, well, okay, this is what I'm doing. And I can say one thing, and this is personal to me, and it might be personal to someone watching. This might be personal to you, whoever you are that this resonates with. I am not a person who likes to suffer or struggle. I'm at a place in my life where I want my life to feel good.
Mhm.
That I'm just not going to go through, that stuff you do when you're in your 20s or 30s and you're so determined to make something work. I'm not willing to do that anymore. So I could have gotten to where I am, I think, sooner,
Mhm.
but I wasn't willing to be miserable along the way. I just wasn't. And so I implemented suggestions that Connie made, not necessarily why when she made them.
Yeah.
It was like kind of like, well, am I ready now?
You
And
you you thought about a lot of things for a while,
yeah.
and it was kinda like the seed was planted, and it took a while for it to pop up out of the soil for you to kind of appreciate, "Maybe I will try that."
Yeah, and it's kind of like that thing, and this is what I'm going through right now. It's like, I know that I need to clean out and organize my closet, but I can tell I'm getting ready, but I'm not ready quite yet.
Yeah.
But there's going to be one morning that I'm going to wake up and that's going to be the only thing I want to do.
Right.
And that's what I did with the suggestions that you had made. And some of them I did right away, like giving up dairy. And ladies, cheese was my spirit animal. I mean, it was like happiness was cheese. In my life, I ate cheese every day and dairy. And you know what? I eat dairy every now and again. Like
Yeah.
maybe I'll have a little, if I'm getting my treat is a burger.
Right.
I'm getting a burger, I have a piece of cheese on it, not a problem. But it's definitely not a daily thing. And here's the interesting thing is I thought I was going to miss cheese and be sad about cheese and long for cheese. Cheese kind of grosses me out now, which is so funny.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? It's like I can have it on something, or put it over here, but my attitude about dairy and that whole thing has just changed completely.
Good.
And what I've noticed is that every time I was ready to implement a new step, when I was ready, because struggle doesn't work for me, when I was ready, it really worked. So the things that Connie told me, and it's like Connie has fabulous. And one thing I can say is, based on my experience, work with Connie or someone like Connie, because there is a huge body of information that we're not privy to unless we go dig it up from someone that knows what Connie knows. And there is a whole gigantic, filthy rich group of companies that want to make sure you don't learn that information.
Yeah.
Because their bottom line depends on you continuing behaviors that's going to keep you right where I was.
Right.
So it's important. And I am very optimistic about our planet. It's kind of bumpy right now, but this kind of information and people who do what Connie does and know the things that Connie knows, this is going to become, it's going to be easier to find and easier to access because we're moving into a better place on the planet. Right. So that's the good news.
That's great news. And I feel like you have, established a lifestyle that is so doable, and it's not a diet.
No. Oh my gosh, it's so not a diet.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's something that you can enjoy day in and day out. So let's kind of back up, and yes, you got your mindset. You then found a plan that you could follow or appreciate and understand. And it's not like you have to do a paleo diet. It's not like you have to do a carnivore diet. It's not like you have to do a vegetarian diet. Mm-hmm. We talked about, in increasing your proteins and reducing your carbohydrates in a way that felt right to you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's not, and we incorporated some intermittent fasting in a way that you could understand. And one thing in particular, and this is a big one for a lot of ladies, is that first cup of coffee in the morning with your collagen peptides that are supposed to be so, healthful. And that, in what a lot of people don't realize, is breaking your intermittent fasting. Mm-hmm. And as a menopausal woman, we are needing more time in the fasted state to balance out our feasting state, if you will. Mm-hmm. So it's all about balance on every level. Yeah. Your metabolism is definitely going to be improved by you understanding that you can't snack our low calorie snacks throughout the day that, add up to low calorie, end point is detrimental to your metabolism. Mm-hmm. Because of the hormone insulin. And, I've gone into that in my videos, And, I feel like everybody should know that, but it's even this past month, I had a few clients who did only that. They pulled the collagen peptides and the creamer out of their coffee and magically were down, 3 to 5 pounds in less than 2 weeks.
And see, that simple action and
Right.
that simple piece of information is so valuable. And yet we don't hear it as much as we need to hear it. And one thing, if I say one thing, I'm lying. There's like 500 things I got to talk about.
Yeah.
What has happened for me is that my complete, and this sounds so trite, but it's so true, ladies. My attitude about food is so very different.
So different.
And I think that a lot of it is my blood sugar is stable.
Yeah.
I do not get those low blood sugar crashes anymore, and I'm really susceptible.
And let me speak to that a little bit. The reason you were getting the blood sugar spikes was because even though you were eating healthy food, and I'm going to kind of nitpick what you were doing so that everyone can kind of understand. Good. Eating a very rich, healthy fruits and vegetables and big salads and, going to the farmer's market, buying beautiful produce and eating a lot of carbohydrates and not enough protein. So that in turn increases your insulin and blood sugar, glucose, because even a leaf of spinach metabolizes into glucose, unfortunately.
And it's filled with oxalates.
Well, there's that. So when you're not appreciating that healthy food can be something that is undermining your metabolism, it's just putting it together in a way that is right for your body, because you were not exercising like you are today. So you were more sedentary. You didn't have the muscle mass to utilize that glucose that you were eating and thinking, I'm doing a great job of eating whole food, right? Buying beautiful, produce that was, wonderful nutrients, yet it wasn't working.
It wasn't working, and I couldn't figure out why.
Right.
It was so frustrating.
So when you match the eating time and the non-eating time, so that fasting window with your feasting window, and you then were kind of putting your macronutrients together, meaning your protein matched your carbohydrate-ish, and it doesn't have to be a perfect, gram for gram, but it's what your body needed. Then throw in the activity of weight-bearing exercises so that you're building muscle in addition to huffing and puffing, that's detoxing. There's so many variables and so many facets to a healthy lifestyle that works for fat loss.
Yeah.
I could go on for hours about that.
Yeah. And when I think about how I eat now, I never diet. I've never dieted. I've just changed what I focus on.
Yeah.
And right now for me, what works for me is I focus on protein.
Yeah.
It's like, I haven't eaten yet today. I've had my coffee with my nut pods creamer and a sugar, stevia substitute. So I haven't had anything yet today. It's 1:30 at my time. I'll eat when we're done. Right. I'm going to have a steak for lunch, which is what quite often I'll have a steak. I get grass-fed, grass-finished beef, so it's not all filled full of hormones and other things I don't want in my body. And today I'm doing something different. Sometimes I'll just have the steak. Today I've got some organic red potatoes.
Nice.
I've just cooked up a little bit. I'm going to have a little bit of them and then put the rest in the refrigerator to maybe add to something else throughout the week.
Perfect.
and that's going to be my lunch. And the difference is that I don't think of food as a, a privilege or a right or a treat or my entertainment or any. I think of food as feeding my body. And I know that it sounds so obvious to say it, but I think in our culture, we have become so accustomed to food being entertainment. And I'll go to like a local neighborhood party, like a driveway party. We do that around here. And they'll have a whole display of food out there, and I will eat none of it
Right.
because there's nothing there that I want to put in my body.
Well, you value feeling good. And the minute that you add that donut or that, dip with, who knows what.
Or the taquitos that are GMO corn, Roundup Ready corn, and who knows what
Yes.
they stuffed it with. Like,
And,
oh,
and I've been definitely accused of being, I'm the nutritionist, so people watch me like a hawk. Snotty. They've decided I'm snotty about eating, or she's not going to eat that. And it has nothing to do with that. I'm fine with anybody eating whatever they want to.
yeah.
You do you. But I
Mhm.
know what happens to my body, to my mindset, to my habit control when I allow that garbage in and start feeling less than, optimal. I want more of it. And then it becomes a very interesting mind game. And then I'm feeling like I don't want to feel. And, 2 days later, the scale's still up 3 pounds. And, that's inflammation. And it's like, was that worth it?
Yeah. And you brought up something that is a real issue for me, a real hot button issue, and that is the flavor enhancers that they put in that processed food that keep your body craving more and more and more.
More and more.
And I have such a heart for people who are struggling and they can't figure out why they're 25, 35, 45 pounds overweight and they feel like they're just eating normally. What they're getting things in that food that are not, there's nothing in most of this that's food.
Right.
Nothing. It
Right.
is modified corn or modified wheat that your body can't process.
Yeah.
It is mixed together with a whole bunch of horrific chemicals that if I put the jug on your counter and told you to drink it, you wouldn't.
Right.
And then they slam a bunch of food coloring that's not good for you. Probably a lot of it is carcinogenic.
Sure.
And then they dump in a whole bunch of flavor enhancers that are just fake chemicals to get you to want more and more of it. It's almost a violence in my mind. And people can't figure out, well, I just had, the Doritos and the bean dip.
Yeah.
Well, let's break that down. It's not food. It's chemicals packaged up with addictive agents and sold to you, and it's detrimental to your health.
Well, and then I also want to add, yes, there's that camp. And then there's the camp like what you were eating really healthy food, Kimberly.
I
And
was.
you were feeling in I would say you thought you felt pretty good.
I
And
think I felt good about what I was eating, but I couldn't figure out why I wasn't feeling good physically.
right. And so the food matters.
Mhm,
Nutrition first. Whole food first. If you're
mhm,
not doing that, ladies, that's the starting game. You
mhm,
really do want to reassess. You want to purchase and create food that is food, right?
mhm,
To the best of
mhm,
your ability. And I get it. I mean, life is busy. Things are, when you don't feel good, it's not easy to make a massive change. But, then find a way to make little changes
mhm,
and move in the direction that you want to go. and you will feel better. And sometimes, fast it out, be hungry, and just
Mhm.
let your body kind of metabolize and do what it's designed to do, tap
Mhm.
into some of that stored fat. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the fasting.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Connie,
Yeah,
because that is something so important.
that's huge.
What Connie said to me when we first started working together, just maybe a couple months in, is you have a day where you eat whatever you want within a reason. You're not, gonna go,
It's not a cheat day because that doesn't make any sense, but
yeah, it's not a Snickers bar all day long thing.
right.
And then have a day where you fast.
Yeah.
Well, I always did the former and I never did the latter because it didn't sound like fun.
No.
But what happened is it was in my mind, and one day I woke up and I was ready.
Okay.
And what I can say is I've had several turning points in my journey of getting my body back to healthy again. That was one of them. That really made quite the difference.
I'm
The
gonna I'm gonna add, I remember you were feeling like things were stalled.
Yes.
You
Mhm.
were you had arrived at a point, the scale was where, you were killing it. I mean, honestly, you had really done great things. Maybe down, I don't know. I don't know, but your body had substantially changed.
Yes.
And it was in
With weight and inflammation.
yes, and it was
Mhm.
in a quote unquote stall for, a couple weeks.
Mhm.
You were
It
like,
was more than that, it was a few months, and I said to Connie, I was trying to squirrel around or try to avoid the whole fasting thing, but it has a happy ending, so hang in here, ladies.
right.
What I said to Connie is, I'm lifting a lot, and I lift heavy,
Yeah,
and
right.
in my mind, based on my experience, when you're a woman, an older woman, there's not a better use of your time to exercise than to lift heavy, and I lift heavy.
Yeah,
And I said to Connie, is there not going to come a time where I have built so much muscle that that's going to become a furnace on its own and I'm going to start dropping the fat? And she said, well, yeah, but it's going to be a lot longer or take a lot longer than fasting.
yeah.
So I kind of integrated that. It took me a few weeks and then I woke up and I was ready. And I fasted, I think, twice the first week, 2 days. One was like 34 hours, one was 38 hours.
And let's talk about what happens when when you become ready and you actually decide, okay, so that you wake up that morning, did you
Mhm.
have coffee?
I had, coffee, and then I just had water. I drink spring water, or I have herbal tea,
Right?
and I just drink that all day long.
Electrolytes?
Um, I I do a little bit of electrolytes. I make sure I have electrolytes that don't have anything in them, just
Yes.
electrolytes,
Okay.
there's no sugars or calories.
Right.
What I can say is that the first couple of times I fasted, and I had fasted before way back when I was like in my early 50s. I think I fasted one time for like 7 days.
Wow.
So I had done it. I knew I was capable of it.
Yeah.
I just didn't want the discomfort.
Right.
Well, I went ahead and did it, and oh my gosh, that just put everything into high gear. And here's the good news punchline is now I'm to the point where I understand clearly at a visceral level that no one, and not especially me, because I'm the only, it's like I'm my own business. Everybody else is their own business. But I don't need to eat every day.
Right.
I don't need to eat 3 meals every day. And I had an experience recently where I traveled from the East Coast to the West Coast, and because of my whole pick up with the shuttle and then go to the air, it's like it was 24 hours before I finally ended up where I was going from the time I left. And you know what I did? I just fasted. I don't like airport food to begin with. I didn't want any of the sodas on the airplane. I didn't want the crackers that's full with seed oils and all that. I just fasted. And you know what? It was like no big deal because I knew that I could do it and I knew it was going to be good for me and I was fine, you know?
Well, you were metabolically balanced. And when your body is able to utilize stored fat for fuel, I mean, that's
Mhm.
the body's preferred fuel source.
Mhm.
Our, the ketones that your body produces that you burning fat.
Mhm. And
And
I was fine. It wasn't like I was hungry and I got to where I was going. The last part was like a 5-hour drive.
yeah,
You would have thought that I would have been wrecked. I wasn't. I was
no,
fine,
no,
you
yeah.
know?
And you have to arrive at that. I mean, it's not like you
Yeah.
you jump off and that happens naturally. Yeah, we've all had to fast for maybe a surgery or a procedure or a blood test, and you think, oh, yeah, there are some moments where you're just a little bit uncomfortable, and that's exactly what you want to kind of tap into. Okay, am I going to starve to death? Or am I just uncomfortable and used to eating for pleasure or
Yes.
entertainment?
Comfort. Mhm.
Yes. So there's the whole kind of mind, block, or you get very untethered at that point when you're not needing anything. Your
Yeah.
body can sustain itself, and
Mhm.
then you're just so empowered by
Yes.
that achievement.
And I've started thinking about my body as a better functioning machine. And I know how to manage the machine better, and it doesn't require Doritos 3 times a day or, whatever. It's a different mindset about taking care of
Yeah.
your body. And one thing I wanted, people are saying, "Okay, well, you've been on this journey for a year. What are your stats?" When I started, I was probably a good size 12. I mean, there's pictures over on my Pretty Over 50 channel. I showed up at 66
Yeah.
in a bikini, in a bathing two-piece bikini on the internet. I wake up in horror in the middle of the night,
Right.
sometimes thinking, why did you do that?
Yeah.
What were you thinking? But anywho, so I was like a 12, really out of shape, very fluffy. I don't think I was so much, you wouldn't have looked at me and said fat, but you would have thought, well, she's letting it go a little bit.
Middle-aged.
Yeah. And now I am wearing size 6. They're not tight. I can tell I'm going to be going into a 4, and I have abs again. And here's the interesting thing, ladies. And if you're even a little bit thinking about it, even a little bit, just give it a try, because I'm now a year into it and I feel like I'm just getting started, because now my body is to a place where it's functioning. And so now I'm excited about really continuing on with the weight training and getting those arms that look fabulous when you're not flexing,
Yeah.
and keeping upping my energy level and just really becoming kind of a biohacker like Connie is, to just feel fabulous. And then I think, okay, you're 67. How much longer are you going to live? I think about this a lot. It's like, how much longer am I going to be on this planet? Because I believe that we just continue on, which we do.
Sure.
And I think I don't even feel like I'm close to getting old, because
No.
my body doesn't feel old. My muscles are great. My joints are great. My energy's great. My enthusiasm is great. I was fuzzy and sluggish and all that before, but now I just feel like, okay, now I'm in the game.
Yeah.
Now I'm in the game and I'm excited to see where I can take my physical health in the years to come.
And why not? I mean, this is the best, in my opinion, the best part of healthy aging. I mean,
Yeah.
we have an opportunity where we have the I'm not working as much as I did earlier in my life. I don't have the
Mhm.
responsibilities. Now I can really focus on myself.
Mhm.
I feel so, I guess, just excited about what's to come.
Yeah.
I have to say that the physicalness, and I'll just kind of share my, in the last few months, I've dropped a few pounds, and it's a interesting, situation when the skin is a little more saggy because the underlying fat, isn't there anymore. Yet I have my muscles. I'm lean. And I, struggled. I've struggled with my weight my whole life. I was, when I in my 20s, I was 30 plus pounds heavier. I got the weight off, and I clung to that for years and worked really hard to not, bump up. I vowed to myself this number on the scale was where I wanted to, within 5 pounds, or I was, going to do something drastic. So yeah, it's been a lifelong journey to be in my body. I've had some health challenges, who hasn't? But now at 62, I think my highest weight, in my 50s, I kind of creeped up as menopause kind of happened. And it was like 143, and I'm 5'6", and felt really fluffy, had the bloat, did all the right things. I know what to do, and it's not easy. So I'm kind of in that stage. My hormones are balanced. My thyroid's doing pretty good. Yes, COVID hit. It knocked me off of my game because of just what happened in my body with the virus. Other things, there's, other inflammatory things that are out of my control with mold and mycotoxins. And,
Mhm.
that's a whole nother conversation because that also is at play. Okay. So then I kind of get it together in that respect. And now I'm down under 130.
Wow. You
And
were thin when Connie and I were able to meet when I was in California a few months back. You were thin then, so
yeah,
that's
and I I dress to I'm good at that. I have the body shape that I can wear something and no one would ever know if I've put on a few pounds.
Mhm.
That's just, that being said, so now I'm thinner. I have been lifting weights. I do work out. I play tennis. I love I have a mirror, a Lululemon mirror that has all the classes. I lift weights. I do, toning, but I don't spend an enormous amount of time, but I'm active, right? I've dialed in my diet. I'm under what my ideal weight is 132. I'm under that right now, which is
Wow.
amazing, right?
Mhm.
But I don't, no one said, "Oh, you're looking thin." It's not, but in my body, it's so interesting watching the changes with the extra skin. So I just want to say that it's different than I thought it would be. And wow, what a ride.
Mhm.
Feeling so good, and looking at what used to be, very, I guess, smooth, and there's dimples, and there's a little, wrinkles, and crepey, yet it's okay
Yeah.
because, you know, anyway, it's an interesting situation, and just awareness, and learning that, wow, we really do need to keep up with the high protein and the nutrients to
Mhm.
build and keep them and maintain what we have.
Mhm.
It's not going to get easier.
No, and when I think you have 2 choices as you roll into a more mature age, you can either go down or you can go up. And
And maybe
there's nothing about going down and being having my mobility limited, falling and breaking a hip, there's nothing about that that's attractive to me. Nothing.
Nothing.
And there's no downside to being strong and fit and metabolically healthy. I mean, there's nothing but upside to that, and that's what I'm choosing to do. And I want to say to anyone who's like on the fence, if there's any part of you that can get you going, just do it. And I'm not perfect. Connie's not perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
And I don't feel like I diet. There's one day a week I eat a burger, I'll have a treat. And it's like it is a reasonable life. What I found really works for me is protein.
Yeah.
That is very critical to my blood sugar, to my energy level. And it's so easy to do. And food is no longer just this weird little thing. And now
Doesn't control you.
yeah, it's what feeds my body.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's delicious. We all have to eat. And when we can just identify what works. It was interesting. I was, eating leftovers this week after Thanksgiving. We had a beautiful dinner, and there was turkey and, sweet potatoes. And that's a great combination for me, except the turkey is a little too lean for me. I mean, I do like my red meat, and I do like the dark meat much better. I do much better with a little higher fat content. Yet I wouldn't characterize my diet as keto, because that in my mind is, way too high in fat, and I'll gain weight or have a tummy ache. Digestion is a huge other issue with, the gut health issue. Oh my gosh, it's huge. So I was really reminded, after having maybe 5 ounces of turkey and maybe a half a cup of a sweet potato dish. It had butter and cream, and I think it had some pecans on top. That meal was delicious and nutritious, but I remember feeling a little bit hungry or not quite as satisfied a couple hours after that meal. And that's where I want to just kind of remind everybody, find out what your ideal macronutrient ratio is by trial and error. If you try that white meat turkey, I think I had a little bit of gravy, so there was a little bit of fat in there, but it wasn't a strong enough protein for me. And then try the same, meal with, or not the same meal, but like maybe a ribeye or a burger patty that's higher fat. Red meat is more purines, which is a protein fraction, and it will be a stronger protein. And maybe you do that with the same sweet potato dish or something comparable. So you're just kind of comparing the macronutrients and see what happens in your body. Because sometimes, a food that you think is quote unquote healthy isn't going to work for you.
Yeah.
And your energy needs. It's important to just kind of identify and understand and play around with, so that you can get that, I call it, that recipe for success.
That sweet spot. And I think that is something that, I'm going to go back to, the cards are stacked against us. The deck is stacked against us. It goes back to what has kind of been this ongoing program to take away the sovereignty of, so that we no longer think about our bodies. We just want to run to a doctor and give me a pill or give me this and that, instead of really taking the time to feel what our body's feeling, to understand how we feel after we eat something. For instance, if I couldn't even imagine, Connie, eating a plate of pasta now. It would be the way that my body is and my blood sugar needs, I would be a wreck an hour later.
Yeah.
My stomach would be upset. I'd be low blood sugar. I'd be hungry. I just have learned that, and I think that, the more that we can really step into our sovereignty and taking charge of how am I feeling? Do I feel energetic? Do I feel bloated?
Yeah.
How's my energy level? How's my blood sugar level? That we can really start stepping back into our power
Yeah.
and understanding what our body's doing, and then someone like Connie can really work with that.
Yeah.
They can really say, "Okay, based on what you're explaining about what happened to you after that meal, we might wanna look at this."
Exactly. Well, and
Mhm,
it's not difficult. It's just a matter of paying attention, and maybe you jot some notes down. Maybe
mhm.
you write down a meal plan that is interesting to you, or some ideas for, for a good way of eating, and just start mindfully being aware. And yes, you're in charge of you, and take action so that you can appreciate, you know how your body works, how it, what doesn't work, and
Mhm.
just get busy doing the things that are important for your longevity.
Yeah, and the benefit is that every step I took to get my gut health in shape, to get my protein needs met, to get my exercise, every step I took helped with my clarity,
Exactly.
helped with my energy levels. So every step I took made the next step easier because I was feeling better. And
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how I would to have to go back to eating the way we're we're pushed to eat in this country. And ladies, everything in the middle of the grocery store isn't food. Those are all just products. They're products they want you to put in your mouth. It's not food. Like, I
Right.
went to the grocery store today. My grocery bill is so tiny now because I'll get some avocados, and I'll get some organic berries, and then I get spring water, and I'm out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because when you really look at the grocery store and think, "How what in here is really good nutrition, nutrition-dense whole food?" There's not much.
Yeah.
There's just not much.
Quality. Quality.
Mhm.
Well, it's worth doing. And I think that, it definitely takes the mindset piece above all.
Yeah, it does.
It and, action. So the mindset, and taking action, and being, maybe appreciating that it's not a perfect science.
Mm-mm. Well, I think it's maybe it's not a perfect science, or it's so custom tailored to each person.
Exactly.
It's not a cookie cutter thing.
No.
You've gotta figure out what works for you, and it's the little things. I thought I was doing everything right, and when Connie said, "Well, maybe not," and started laying out all these things, I'm like,
Oh,
"Of course. That
yeah,
makes perfect sense."
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's certainly such a pleasure to appreciate and hear, from you, what you went through.
Yeah,
Um, in the beginning, we did look at your blood work,
yeah.
and we
Blood work, I don't think there's any woman over 50 that wouldn't benefit from having someone with your understanding look at your
functional
blood work.
blood work analysis.
That that is so it's like trying to fix your car without looking under the hood. It's just
Exactly.
it's a waste of time.
Well, it's an investment. It's gonna cost a few $100s for the blood work. It's gonna cost a few $100s to have it analyzed. Yet that's a tool that will definitely be a huge needle mover. When
Mhm.
you know that your thyroid, for you, as an example, your thyroid was off, and some of the enzymes in the thyroid hormone were flipping into a way that was reversing the the issue. So your thyroid was tanking, if you will.
And I want to interject here, ladies. I went to a standard medical doctor who told me my thyroid was fine.
Yeah.
And I was literally every afternoon. It's not that I took a nap. It's like I was like almost passing out. I was so tired.
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore. So
Right.
that's what I'm getting at, is that the information we're getting a lot of times doesn't serve us.
You took the ball and you ran with it. And you know, your sovereignty is sound. And that's what I appreciate. You are your own advocate, and you're gonna, you know, once it makes sense, you're gonna figure out a way to fix it, and
Mhm.
you know, find the tool or what, you know, whatever it is to be able to give your body what it needs so that you can thrive.
Yeah, 'cause, like, we don't wanna end up all stove up.
No, 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 no.
We're the kids that it's like we came back home when the street lights went on. We drank from the hose. We rode our bikes with no helmets. We are tough stuff. Let's not get all old and frail. Let's
Yeah.
block it.
And stored fat is so detrimental, as you know, and it piles on. You know, the inflammation turns into fat. And if
Mhm,
you are, you know, going to Starbucks and drinking that hot coffee through the lid that's plastic, and you know, drinking out of a water bottle that's, you know, got you know, toxins, think about those things.
mhm,
Let's get back to basics.
mhm,
Awareness, appreciating that it's diet, rest, exercise, sleep, stress reduction, supplementation. We have to be extremely, I guess, aware to fix a problem that weren't aware of, you know.
mhm,
And it's just a matter of, there's so much information out there, good information, and I think that it's just now motivation to take the first step. We've got December coming up. That's, you know, disastrous for so many. And it doesn't have to be. I mean,
mhm,
Christmas is one day, right? You don't have to eat the whole month. And
mhm,
those treats, you can just say no.
mhm,
It becomes easier to do that when you have created balance. And that
mhm,
takes effort on your part. And
mhm.
it's not that I can do it for you. I wish I could. I really do. But once you know and you make up your mind and you find that mindset that elicits you to be able to take action,
Yeah.
and then you go to bed at night and you feel successful and you feel like, I really did that. Whether it's a, you know, a 24-hour fast, or I didn't, you know, I stopped at one cookie, or, you know, whatever it is, just, you know, appreciate that you have, you know, flip that switch. You're
Mhm,
not broken. You can do this. Even if you're in the worst of, you know, ways, you can move forward in a healthful, you know, style that will enrich your life.
yeah. It will. It
Yeah,
will. And you don't have to do it all at once. I did not. I did
right,
it slowly and comfortably. And, I'm going kayaking in a couple of days.
yeah,
It's like, and I'm so glad that I don't even think about my mobility. It's like I can do whatever I want to do.
right.
And that's a gift.
Well, and I think there's the element of, okay, we get motivated, we get you know, you get a jump start, and then you fall off the wagon.
Yeah,
Um,
let's get back on.
yeah, you just appreciate that. All right, life is messy, but
Mhm.
get back on, and don't beat yourself up. Just get
Mhm.
back on the wagon and appreciate that you're gonna mess up,
Yeah.
and don't allow that wagon to own you.
Yeah.
And, you know, the poor me, and I can't, you know, or it's hard, or somebody else is, you know, in control. No, 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 no. You take ownership, and
Mhm.
for you.
Nobody's coming to save you.
No, absolutely not. Any Yeah. This is great, Kimberly. I'm so appreciative of your contribution. I mean, you've helped so many women, just by watching your example. And we need more people like you.
It is without a doubt one of the most wonderful things is to be able to give someone just even a little bit of encouragement. And ladies, if there's anything in you that says, I'm ready, go for it. You will be messaging me or Connie in 6 months saying, oh my gosh, that is the best decision I have made in decades. There's nothing that will change your life like getting your body to a really healthful state. And I'm so excited about year 2 and year 3 and year 4. It's like it is so worth all of it.
It is. And
Mhm.
and just to watch your, stick to itness and your ability to continue on when, maybe it wasn't fun, but just to watch that moving forward.
Yeah.
Think about, it's sad when you think about how many women in our, situation have just kind of decided, oh, I'm just getting old. It's
Yeah. And
no,
and women, it's like, I'm old now. Well,
yeah.
no, you're
No, you're
not.
not. Well, you might be older, but you get to choose how,
Yeah.
what you get, how to move forward.
Mhm.
And, the years go fast,
Mhm.
and it's worth being in a body that you love. I mean,
Mhm.
feeling good in your body is so important. Having the energy and the ability to choose well, because you don't need that quick fix, you
Mhm.
know, ugh,
It's
it
just not even of interest. So I
no,
want to thank you so much for all that you've given me. And thank you, Connie, for reaching out. I know that probably was not easy because I get so many people that want to talk to me. I'm so grateful to you because it really changed the course of my older years. And I'm so grateful. So thank you.
oh, it's such a pleasure. I love this. And I'm
Yeah.
so glad. I know that, this will be impactful for many,
Mhm.
deciding as they move, January's coming up, the New Year resolution, the new diet, the new lifestyle. Um, do it today.
Yeah.
I'll just encourage you, don't wait. Don't put on another 15 pounds
Mhm.
in the 30 days that are December with the
Mhm.
celebration. Choose you. And I know, I'm preaching to the choir to you, Kimberly, but I'm hoping those out there, looking, searching, hoping to find, what's going to work. I hope that this is helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All
Well,
right.
thank you, Connie.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll end it here.
Okay. Take care,
Appreciate it.
everyone.
All right. Take care. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.